The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Korvax of the Hegemony delivered his ultimatum. His forearms crossed over his crystalline chest, mandibles clicking with satisfaction as he gazed down at the lone human representative. Your species has 24 of your Earth hours to surrender all mining rights in the Kepler sector, Korvax announced. Refuse and we will take them by force. Your primitive vessels are no match for our fleet. Commander James Mitchell stood alone at the podium, representing all of humanity. The other species in the council watched with varying degrees of pity. The hegemony had conquered 17 civilizations in the past century. Earth, with its mere 50 years of faster-than-light travel, seemed like easy prey. Mitchell adjusted his uniform and spoke calmly into the translator. The Kepler sector contains 3 human colonies with over 2 million settlers. We decline your demand. Korvax's laugh echoed through the chamber. You decline? Your entire fleet consists of 40 vessels. We command thousands. Your weapons are projectile-based while ours harness antimatter. You have no chance. Nevertheless, we decline. The crystalline being's eyes flared orange. Then you have chosen extinction. The hegemony formally declares war on Earth and all human territories. May your gods have mercy, for we shall not. Mitchell nodded slowly. Understood. Before you leave, Ambassador, I should inform you of something. He pulled out a small datapad. This message will be transmitted to Earth in approximately 3 minutes. It reads, Diplomatic solutions exhausted. Hegemony has declared war. Authorization granted for Protocol 7. Your protocols mean nothing to us, Korvax sneered. Perhaps, but you should know what Protocol 7 entails. Mitchell's expression remained neutral. Complete mobilization of the human military-industrial complex. Suspension of all weapons restrictions. Full conversion to war economy. And most importantly, removal of all ethical constraints on warfare. The translator struggled with the last phrase, but several species shifted uncomfortably. Korvax remained unimpressed. Empty threats from a dying species. 3 months, Mitchell said quietly. That's how long the Zanari Empire lasted after declaring war on us 40 years ago. They had twice your fleet size. The Zanari were weak. The Zanari no longer exist as a spacefaring civilization. Their homeworld still burns from the cobalt bombs we deployed. Their colonies are graveyards. We offered them peace 17 times. They refused. Mitchell's voice carried no emotion. We stopped offering after the first month. The council chamber grew colder. Several ambassadors began accessing historical records. You speak of ancient history, Korvax said, though his tone carried less certainty. 12 years ago, the Vorlan raiders attacked a human cargo vessel. They killed 32 crew members. Mitchell continued reading from his pad. We tracked their fleet for 6 months, located all their bases, identified their supply lines. Then we introduced a synthetic virus into their food supply that made them allergic to their own proteins. The entire raider fleet died screaming within days. Biological warfare is forbidden by laws we followed during peacetime. War is different. Mitchell looked up. We are a young species by galactic standards. We've only had spaceflight for 2 centuries. But we've had war for 200,000 years. We've perfected it, refined it, turned it into an art form so terrible that we spent most of our history trying to contain it. The hegemony ambassador's scales shifted to a defensive pattern. You cannot intimidate the hegemony with stories. Not trying to intimidate, just informing. Mitchell pulled up a holographic display. This is Earth, population 12 billion. Mars, 4 billion. Luna, 1 billion. 47 other colonies with another 3 billion combined. Every human of military age has basic combat training. It's mandatory in our education system. 20 billion soldiers mean nothing against our technology. Not 20 billion soldiers. 20 billion potential soldiers. But more importantly, 20 billion minds thinking of ways to kill you. Mitchell changed the display. This is our current military fleet. 40 vessels, as you noted. This is our industrial capacity. Within 6 months, we can produce 400 vessels. Within a year, 4,000. We've done it before. Impossible. No species can. During our Second World War, before we even reached space, we built over 300,000 military aircraft in 5 years. Starting from almost nothing, we converted every factory, every workshop, every garage into weapons production. Children collected scrap metal. Housewives built bombs. That was just one nation. Now imagine our entire species united. The display showed images from human history, cities in ruins, Mushroom clouds. Trenches filled with bodies. Burning ships. Devastated worlds. We invented nuclear weapons and used them on ourselves. We created chemical weapons that could melt flesh from bones, then used them on our own kind. We developed biological plagues that could wipe out continents, and yes, we deployed them. Against ourselves. We are the only known species that achieved spaceflight while still actively trying to extinction itself. Korvax's translator struggled with the concept. You wage war against yourselves? Constantly. For resources, ideology, territory, religion, or sometimes just because we can. We've killed more humans than every alien threat combined. It's what we're good at. It's what we know. Mitchell's expression finally changed, showing something that might have been sadness. And now you want to give us a common enemy. An external threat? Do you know what happens when humans stop fighting each other and focus on someone else? The chamber remained silent. We become something else entirely. We stop being individuals, stop being nations, stop being divided. We become a singular purpose. A force of nature. We become death itself walking among the stars. These are just words. Mitchell interrupted by activating another display. The Battle of Terra Nova. 50 human defenders against 300 Scaran warriors. The humans held for 7 days. When ammunition ran out, they used improvised explosives. When those were gone, they used blades. When the blades broke, they used their hands. The last defender was found with Scaran throat tissue under his fingernails. He had killed 3 enemies after sustaining fatal wounds. The display changed. The Siege of New Moscow. Colony of 8,000. Besieged by 20,000 hive drones. The colonists burned their own city section by section, leading the drones into kill zones. Families detonated their own homes with themselves inside to eliminate enemy clusters. Children as young as 10 operated artillery. They held for 4 months until relief arrived. 500 survived. Not one surrendered. These are exceptions. These are the norm. Every human child grows up on stories of last stands, of fighting to the death, of taking as many enemies as possible with you. We glorify death in battle. We build monuments to our defeats as much as our victories. We remember the 300 Spartans who died, not the 10,000 who lived. Ambassador Korvax's 4 arms had slowly uncrossed. Other species in the council were backing away from both representatives. Your species is insane. Yes, Mitchell agreed. We know, we've spent centuries trying to contain it. Building laws, treaties, conventions, trying to chain the monster that lives in our DNA. But you're removing those chains. You're telling us that it's okay to be what we truly are. The hegemony does not fear. You should. Mitchell's voice dropped to almost a whisper. We are the species that split the atom to win a war. We are the species that created artificial intelligence, and our first question was how to weaponize it. We are the species that looked at the vacuum of space and asked how we could use it to kill. We have contingency plans for fighting gods. We have weapons we've never used because we scared ourselves with what they could do. The human commander stepped down from the podium, walking toward the exit. Your message has been transmitted. Earth knows we're at war. In 72 hours, our first response fleet will arrive. Not our military fleet, our volunteer fleet. Citizens who own private vessels and want to fight. We estimate around 3,000 ships. They won't be coordinated. They won't follow rules of engagement. They'll just kill everything with your signature. He paused at the door. You want to know the real difference between humans and other species? You fight wars to win. We fight wars to end them permanently. Ask the Zanari. Ask the Vorlon. Ask any species that's made the mistake you just made. Mitchell turned back one final time. Congratulations, Ambassador Korvax. You just started a war with the most lethal species alive. We've been practicing on each other for millennia. Now we get to see what we can do to someone else. The door closed behind him, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Korvax stood frozen, his crystalline form reflecting the horror spreading across the faces of the other ambassadors. 3 days later, the first human volunteer fleet arrived in hegemony space. 3,000 civilian vessels converted into weapons of war. They didn't demand surrender. They didn't send messages. They just started killing. By the end of the first week, 7 hegemony outposts had gone dark. By the end of the first month, their border defenses had collapsed. The humans weren't using sophisticated tactics. They were using terror, ramming attacks, suicide runs, boarding parties that fought until every member was dead. The hegemony tried to surrender after 6 weeks.